Hi and welcome to Cheeky Richo's Choko Chutney. Check these out. Richo can certainly grow chokos. We have a request from Alleypuss who is after a recipe for Choko Chutney. So here we go, Alleypuss. We hope you like it. The ingredients are in the recipe box below. It is a 2-day process. We have to prepare our chokos ahead of time, leave them to soak in salt overnight, and then drain the fluid off. The osmotic action of the salt will withdraw the extra moisture from the chokos, and the salt will be used as a preservative and a flavouring. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is peel our chokos. Okay, these have been peeled now. Peel them under running water, and that way you won't get all really slippery hands because they're really quite sticky to work with. Now we're just going to use a mandolin and cut them into sort of chunks, sort of like straws, like so. When they get cooked up, they're going to go all sort of soft anyway, but we want to get as much of that surface area exposed to salt. Okay, here's our Choko chips, all chopped up into little strips. So we're going to sprinkle it liberally with our salt, all in at once, and then we're going to mix it all around so that all of the salt is all over the Choko. They're really quite crisp now, as you can see. They're not doing anything, but tomorrow they're going to be sort of quite floppy, and I'll show you what I mean then. It will also be quite a bit of liquid in the bottom, which we're going to discard. Now, chokos are really quite alkaline, and Richo believes that they're very good for your stomach. He doesn't have any medical evidence to back that up. Somebody out there might be able to tell us why he thinks this. It is really quite slimy, and you must chop these under running water if you don't use a mandolin, because you will be covered in a sort of a coating on your hands. It's very hard to remove. Vinegar helps, but it doesn't remove it entirely, so they're quite a moisture laden vegetable without too much flavour, so they take on a lot of the lovely flavours that we're going to be adding with our spices and our onions and our golden syrup and our vinegar. They've already started to release some of the water. Do you see that there? By tomorrow there'll be a lot more in that bowl. Okay, just cover it. Just put it room temperature. You don't have to put it in the fridge or anything. And tomorrow we're going to continue with our recipe. Okay, you can see just how much fluid has been drawn out of these chokos. Look at it, there's oodles of it. So we're just going to drain our chokos into our bowl. I'm going to use a wok to cook this because it'll be very easy to manage, and it's better for you guys to see what I'm doing. So we're going to discard all this fluid. We don't need that. And that's how much fluid you're left with. It's probably about 300 mils. It's quite a significant amount. And that's been drawn out of those chokos. As you remember, we didn't put any fluid in it at all. Now we're just going to dice our onions up, just roughly. Use a mandolin. You won't be crying. It's really, really easy to do it that way. Okay, with our chokos drained, our onions go in there, all diced up as well. And they're going to add a natural sweetness. Our sultanas go in next. Our mixed spice, mustard powder, curry powder, our golden syrup. There'd be a quicker way of doing that, but there's not. Trust me, all our golden syrup's going in there. You don't want to watch that. Our white vinegar. Now we just get our peppercorn medley. Now there's red, black and white peppercorns in there, and just give them a good crush up. Can't put them in whole because they won't break down. And this is the best way to get all the flavour out of them. Just a coarse mix, that's all you need. Just bashed up a bit. They go in too. Okay, bring this to the boil now. Lower the temperature. Use a metal spoon, because if you use a wooden spoon or a plastic spoon or even a silicone spoon, it might absorb some of these flavours and colours. Don't put your head over this because it's a bit like an acid facial bath. I don't think it'd be very good for you. I'm going to cook it for about 35 to 45 minutes until those chokos are nice and soft. It will reduce down because we've got it in such a large pan, but just simmer it gently until it's cooked. Okay, while our chutney is cooking on the stove, we just get our flour, just plain flour. You can either use water or some of your vinegar stored here, just to make it into a paste. And this is what we're going to be using to thicken it. So just get all of the lumps out of there, because you seriously don't want dumplings in your chutney. And just put that to one side. Okay, our chutney is boiling along nicely there. It's really quite soft. I've just been having a little bit of a press down from time to time to make sure that it's not stuck anywhere, and to also break up any of these bigger pieces of our chutney. Sultanas are fattened up nicely. Look at that, they're nice and fat and juicy. Takes your breath away. It's really quite strong. We've just sterilised our jars, and we are going to turn it off now, let it cool a little bit, and we're going to thicken it with our flour paste. It's cooled off enough now for us to stir in our paste. You could temper it a little bit by putting some of the sauce into our paste and then just stirring it around so it's not too big of a shock when it goes in there. and then stir it, and you'll see it starts to thicken pretty well straight away. And now we put the heat back on and bring it back to the boil, and we're going to pour it into our sterilised jars. Now you have to stir it constantly at this stage so that it doesn't stick. Now don't forget, this will thicken a little bit on standing. There's your lovely, rich, spicy, fragrant Choko Chutney, and the fumes coming off it, really quite potent. I hope you enjoyed our little Choko recipe that you requested, Alleypuss. If you would like to see more interesting recipe ideas, or if you have a request, if we can get the ingredients, we'll try and cook it for you. And do come back and visit us again soon. We have so much more to show you, and we're uploading lots of videos every week. And thank you very much for watching. Have a lovely day. Okay, it's time to decant our chutney into our sterilised jars, which are really quite hot. So we're just going to tip some into a jug. That'll make it a lot easier to decant. And this will keep unopened for up to a year. So it's really economical use of really abundant chokos, especially if they get a little bit big like these ones did, because they're obviously a lot better to have nice and young. And this is great with cold cuts of meat for a picnic, for giving away to friends. You can start making them now for Christmas gifts for people. Hard to tell I'm right-handed, is it? It's always a good idea to make a few too many jars than too few, because it's very hard to get those jars ready in time to decant it if you haven't prepared enough. And you don't have to go and buy jars unless you're giving them for a gift, because these are actually been recycled dozens of times. If your family and your friends know that you actually are into home preserving, but they're more than happy to save them for you, especially if there's some fresh homemade pickles or jams or jellies on offering. Yum.